waiting on some people to hop on so we can talk about finances today. I'm trying to give a few minutes for some people to jump on and join me. I'm not gonna wait long so that I'm not on here long. And if you catch it in the replay, then I just want to say thank you for that. If you're on here, then of course you know that I'm Rashana with Methodically Planned. I love all things planners, organization, and finance. And my goal is always to help people to maximize their 3 T's, your time, your talent, and your treasure. And today we're going to talk about maximizing your treasure, which is your money. So we'll get started here in just a minute. And I am so sorry about the camera adjusting. I am doing both IG Live and Facebook. So again, I'm Rashana. I love to interact. So when you get on, let me know you're here. Type your name in the comments so I can properly say good afternoon to you. And I appreciate you joining me today and coming on here so that we can have a good, nice chat. I normally don't write notes, but I did make just a few notes today just so that we could stay on track, because once I start talking about different things, yeah, it's that type of day. So let me know that you're here. Say hi. Let me know who I'm talking to. And then we'll get started. I'll give just a couple more minutes and then I'll get right into it. And then we'll go from there. We'll kind of see how things progress. I made a post, I think it was last week. And the post was, paying bills and budgeting are not the same thing. Like when I talk to people about creating a budget or asking them, do they budget? They always tell me, yeah, I write everything down before I, when I get ready to pay my bills. That's nice. That's wonderful. That's great. That, however, is not budgeting. That is paying bills. And so I would really like for us to be proactive with our finances and just making sure that we are able to make some decisions. I'm sorry, Facebook, about this phone, but the screen is so small and yeah, it's moving, so sorry. But anyway, just want to make us aware of some things so that we can make some good financial decisions. I know right now in the climate that we're in, a lot of people excuse me, are struggling in this exact area just because, a loss of income, the inability maybe to go to work. Your industry may not be considered an essential business, so that may have affected your bottom line. And what I would like for this to do is to get us to thinking about how we can better prepare ourselves for the future and things that we honestly have no control over. And we do that by controlling the things that we can control. And so when we do have access to finances and things like that, then the decisions that we make in the meantime or at the time actually help to determine how we are able to effectively go through something, just in terms of the financial part of it. Again, there are a lot of different aspects of what we're dealing with right now, but we want to try to look at things holistically. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. Thank you again for everyone who's on the line. If you have a comment or a question, please feel free to respond. If you catch this in a replay and you have a question about something that I say or a point that I bring up, then just private message me and I will respond back. You can also email me at RODENISEPLANS, that's rodeniseplans@gmail.com, and I will respond to your questions. So anyway, the first thing that I want to say again, having a budget is essential, and it is different from just paying your bills. So when you go and you're preparing for the month, this is what I would suggest, and this is how I do it, is, well, I do it a little different. I'm a spreadsheet girl, so I kind of plan out like 6 months at a time, just so that, hey, Taylor, just so that I am prepared in my mind. Of course, things change and we have to be flexible with our plans, but to be able to, love you, miss you too, we have to be able to at least look forward to have an idea of what it is that we want to do and where we want to go. So when you're looking at your finances, just map everything out. If you know approximately what you're expecting to make for the month, write it down. The first key to having a successful budget is to know exactly what you have coming in. It's very challenging to create a working budget if you don't even know what it is that you're making. And there are some specific things that I have for people who don't necessarily receive a base salary. And even if you are creative and you your salary fluctuates from week to week or from month to month, there are some baseline things that you can use to actually create a budget for yourself so that you'll know, basically where you stand and then what to do in the event that there are fluctuations and you have a month that maybe you earn a little less, and also contingencies for when you earn more. So again, writing down what you actually anticipate making is step number one. Then what you want to do, and step 1 and 2 are interchangeable. You can do it either way. It just depends on how your brain works. But step number 2 is going to be to write down all of your expenses. When I'm working with a client, what I encourage them to do, or what I instruct them to do, if they tell me that they want to get their personal or their business finances in order, the first order of business or the first assignment that I give them is, for the next 30 days, write down every single thing that you do. A lot of times our budgets are not what we think they should be, simply because we don't really know what we're spending. We don't really know exactly what's going out. We have swipe-itis, which means that you go to the store, you see something, you take out your card and you swipe. You don't necessarily consider how much you really have. Sometimes we think that the number that we get from the bank when we call in for our balance is our balance. Let me inform you, as a person who formerly worked for the bank, that is not your true balance. The bank doesn't know what you've done between the time they posted the night before and up to that very moment. Yes, they do log your transactions. However, those things are not posted. They are pending. So it's better for you to know personally exactly what you have in your account. They don't know if you've written any checks. I know people are like, a check, what is that? But some people do write checks. I still write checks. So they don't know if you've written checks. Some things don't post for the exact amount at the time. They do what's called an authorization, which is where you swipe your card. You swipe your card and they may hold a particular amount, but it does not mean that it's actually the amount that you used. For example, when you go to a restaurant and they come back with your ticket and you give them a credit card to pay, they swipe your card for the amount of the check. The tip doesn't get added until the end of the night. Hey, Tanisha, the tip doesn't get added till the end of the night. So you may call your bank and they give you one balance and you're thinking in your mind, oh, I just swiped my card for dinner, so this has got to be right. But it doesn't always include the tip. So you want to keep those things in mind as well. So now we've written down what our expected income is. We've taken 30 days to record every transaction that we do. Now, another reason why that is important is because it helps you to see where you can trim the fat. Okay, a lot of times we are overspending in categories and we don't even recognize it. So let me show y'all this little book right here. It's too small. Y'all know I like to plan. It's too small for me to do my daily and weekly plans in. But a part of what I do with it is I actually track my expenses. Now, I'm a spreadsheet girl, so I go back and I make sure and put everything in the spreadsheet so that I can see what I've actually done. However, while I'm on the go, if I stop and spend, $5 for a snack, or if I spend $3 or whatever for a drink, or I've gotten low on gas. I've already spent my set aside funds for gas for that week, but I'm low on gas and I need to get some gas. So I, spend $10 on gas. Those are transactions that I need to keep track of because they may not necessarily have been a part of what I plan to spend. So keeping track of what you're doing is going to help you to see areas where you're overspending, help you to see areas where you may have allocated more funds than necessary for a particular category. All right, so we've written it all down, and so now we know what we have going on. Then what I would like for us to do, this is the mindset that I think is very important for us to adopt. And stop me at any point if you have any questions. Ask any questions. This is very interactive, so y'all interact with me, okay? This is the point where you go into what I like to call CFO mode, okay? You have to be the chief financial officer for your personal finances or for your business, okay? And what a chief financial officer does is there's a couple of things. There's 3 things that I want to bring out about what this person does. First of all, the person aligns the spending and the generation of income with whatever the mission or the goal is. So if you're doing this for your personal finances, then you want to think about, okay, what are my goals? What are my personal goals for this year? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? What things, am I trying to get done? What am I trying to achieve? That could be as simple as making sure that I pay all of my bills on time. Making sure that I'm trying to raise my credit score right now. Or I'm trying to alleviate some bills that I don't necessarily want to continue to carry. So with that in mind, as a CFO, you have to keep the mission at the forefront of your thought when you're planning your finances. The other thing is analyzing. This is so very key, and I think it's a part of budgeting that we oftentimes miss. And what I mean by analyzing is that you look at trends. I noticed something about myself a few years ago. Whenever I moved, I spent a lot of money. Like it didn't even matter that I was still going to use the same things that I had. I was going to keep my same furniture and all of those things. But for whatever reason, when I move, I always go buy dishes. Nothing wrong with the pots and pans that I have in my home already. I go and buy towels. There was only 2 people in the house, me and my daughter. So there was no reason for me, Now, if you have things that need to be replaced, then okay, that's understandable. And those things go in the budget. You plan for that. These are not new things. Most things that we run out and buy, they're not things that just happen. They're not emergencies. They're things that we can actually plan for. So, but I noticed that when I moved, I would always end up spending a lot of money. I would go and buy stuff that was totally unnecessary, and it never dawned on me, like it never clicked. But when I changed my mindset and started shifting into thinking like a CFO, even though it was just for my personal finances at the time, now of course I've owned a business before, but even though it was just for my personal finances, I realized that, hey, there's a trend that's going on here. You have a habit of purchasing things outside of your budget or creating categories in your budget for things that were unnecessary. Also, if you're a business owner or even just in your personal life, if you know that your job fluctuates during particular seasons. I used to be a hairstylist. I've done taxes. So, of course, everybody knows that tax season is hot from what? The 1st of January. Well, really the middle of December, but that's another story for another day. But the 1st of January up through like the beginning of May, middle of May. By that time, most people have already done their taxes, unless they're a small business, and sometimes it takes them, a little bit longer to get things done. But you have to begin to think about, how does my industry, or how do I interact with the climate that I'm in? Does my industry fluctuate? Does my job tend to lay us off, or do we tend to get fewer hours? Or is there a season in the year where my job tends to ask us to do overtime or requires us to do overtime? Do I have more clients coming in during the summer months than I do during the winter months? These are things that you have to process and think about. You have to begin to think like a CFO. Yes, it's just you and your finances, or maybe it is your business finances. Hey, Chastity, maybe it is your business finances, but these are the ways that we have to begin to think in order for us to maximize our treasure, our finances, our money, the way that we handle the money that we are able to generate and use for our livelihood. Okay, the last thing that I want to say as far as thinking like a CFO is the decisions that I'm about to make with my finances. What are the implications of those decisions? If I am deciding that for the category, let's say savings, if I say, okay, I want to be able to save $1,200 this year, that's $100 a month, right? What's the implication of that? Does that mean that there's another category that I need to reduce my spending in so that I'll have the extra $100 per month to save? Or the reverse is true as well. If I decide that I want to go and get a brand new car, okay, what's the implication on my finances of going to get a new car? A new car, depending on what type of car you get, your car note is going to be anywhere from, let's say, $350 to $600, depending on what you get. Well, how does that affect your overall budget? You have to think about, okay, if I go get a new car, then I have to have full coverage insurance, right? As opposed to maybe an older model vehicle with a bunch of miles on it, you may only have to have liability insurance. It depends on your comfortability level. Of course, the state mandates that you have to have liability, but if you feel like, okay, this is my junker car, I'm just driving around, if something happened to it and it was totaled, I can replace it for $1,200. I don't need to pay full coverage insurance for that. I can go with liability and be okay. There are implications to every decision that we make in our finances. So just think about those things. Now, if anybody has any questions or any comments, then please feel free to share them. Again, I am available in my DM. You can direct message me. You can email me at rodeniseplans@gmail.com and I'll answer your questions for you. This is just something that I believe is very helpful in the way that we live and think about our lives. I feel like that our lives are in 3 parts. And that's another conversation for another day. But I focus on helping people to maximize their 3 T's, their time, their talents, and their treasure. And so it's just very important to me that we begin to think about how we use each one of those things, how we go about managing those things. And of course, today we're just talking about finances. So let's just recap. 1, writing your bills, paying bills is not the same thing as budgeting. Let me blink slow. Paying bills is not the same thing as budgeting. What are the steps to budgeting? First, write down what you anticipate coming in as your income. Okay? Make sure you spend your money on paper before you ever get it in your hand. Because if you wait until you get it, you'll do some things with it that you had not planned on doing. And that's a budget buster. Okay, and these are not all the steps. These are just the things that I wanted to cover today. So you're going to write down what your proposed income or what you know that your income is going to be. If you are an independent person, or you are, when I say independent person, I mean if you're self-employed or you're a small business and you want to get assistance on how to actually structure a budget because your income is not regular, then if you'll reach out to me, I'll be happy to work with you in regard to that. All right, the second thing that you want to do is write down all of your expenses, all the things that you know come out, your rent, your lights, your water, your gas, any subscriptions that you have, anything that you spend money on should be a part of your budget. Then I want you to take it one step further. Take 30 days and track every single thing that you spend money on. Okay? I don't care if you go and make $10 from selling a popsicle, and you spend that $10 however you spend it. Track that. You want to track that income as well as the expenses. Okay? And then at the end of the 30 days, you're actually going to be able to look at your transactions and look at the things that you've done to get a realistic picture of your finances, to get a realistic picture of how much money you actually spend in a month's time. And that'll help you to be able to determine how you really want to spend your money. Because a lot of times when we don't have a working budget, we go off of what we think we spend, and usually those numbers are not totally accurate. So doing the 30 days will allow you to actually see how you spend money and then make the necessary adjustments to get your budget in line to what you want to do. I tell my clients all the time, it's your money. You can do whatever you want to do with it. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm here to help you to understand what you're doing with your money, and then to help you actually put the things in place that you want to be doing with your money. So just keep those things in mind. And then the last thing, of course, is think like a CFO. There are implications to every financial decision that you make. There are trends. Recognize the trends in your lives, the habits that you have, the seasons that you have in your life. Recognize those things and learn how to analyze them and put them in their proper perspective so that you can adjust accordingly. A budget doesn't have to be static. And when I say that, I mean just because you started with this particular budget in January doesn't mean by the time you get to June that that's still an effective budget for you. You should be reviewing your budget every month because you're putting in your true numbers, right? The budget is you deciding how you want to spend your money, and then when you come back at the end of the month or at the end of the week, I would suggest that you do a follow-up every week. Depends on how you get paid. If you get paid every 2 weeks, then you want to review every 2 weeks just to make sure that you're staying in line with what you said that you wanted to do with your finances. Okay? And then the last thing, which was actually the first thing, is when you're planning to create your budget, think about what your mission is with your finances. Think about your overall mission in your life or in your business. What is the purpose that I'm going for? What things am I going to use this money to direct? How am I going to be strategic in the way that I spend my finances? And so that's all I have today. If anybody has any questions, I'll stay on for a couple of minutes. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, if this was helpful to you, give me some hearts or show me some love or something. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how it goes when I'm on. I just know how I participate when other people are on. So if this was helpful to you, then you can even leave me a comment after the fact. Please go back and rewatch it so that if there was something that I said that maybe you missed or you didn't understand, that'll help clear it up. If not, again, you can message me or you can email me, and I will be happy to converse with you about anything concerning your time, which is planning, your talents, which is project planning, getting things done, getting those ideas out of your head and actually on paper, and then into execution mode, or your treasure, which is your finances. So thanks, guys. Love you. If you're interested in more videos like this, then go ahead and I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it. Comment and share. Thank you so much. Have a great day.